A few years ago, the main character got completely ripped off, and because of that, he ended up stuck with a massive debt worth millions. To deal with it, he now works at a food truck. But here's the twist. His cooking is so insanely good that women literally fall for him after eating it. He's fully aware of this, and honestly, he doesn't take those women seriously, since they're all just after something. The guy was basically used to having multiple women at his feet like it was just another Tuesday. But then, out of nowhere, 3 girls fall for him, not because of his food, but for who he truly is. And yeah, that actually starts messing with his heart. This dude is the definition of a cold, confident Sigma, and now he's got the chance to choose one of the 3 to be by his side. But let me warn you right now, it's not stopping at 3, more women are definitely joining the game. This series right here, yeah, it's hitting different. The story already begins with the young man cooking. There were 2 agents spying on him. When he finally opened the food truck, he notified several clients on their phones. The girls went wild inside a bus and even told the driver to turn around. The girls at the university also went hysterical. When they received the notification, everyone stopped what they were doing and ran to the food truck. The intelligence service agents became suspicious of that cook. Meanwhile, the heiress daughter of Korea's largest company was heading out for lunch. The HS company owned various technological sectors, and Sophia was the owner's daughter. Many girls of all types went to that food truck. The guy didn't even expect it to be that crowded, so he had prepared only a humble number of portions, and when he noticed the place was completely packed, he was even startled. The girls called him Diok, but that wasn't his real name. But the girls didn't care, since they were madly in love. I thought they were only in love because of the food, but no guys, they really liked him, especially since the guy looked like a bodybuilder. The scene goes back a few years, when he was depressed in his room. He had a debt of 300 million because of a scam he fell for. The guy was at rock bottom and it seemed nothing he did could pull him out. Some hackers had invaded his accounts. Junior's own family, that's the name of our protagonist, ended up cutting ties with him, since he no longer had money to lend to those leeches. And in the end, he decided to drown his sorrows. Hopeless, he decided to become homeless, and when he was about to abandon his home, he passed by that food truck. Looking at his hands, he saw he only had 3 coins. The cook made a joke, asking why the boy had that dead look on his face. Furious, Junior told the old man not to talk about something he didn't understand. But deep down, poor Junior was starving. With a generous smile, old Diok, the original one, ended up offering him a portion of food. The young man's mouth started watering, and then he decided to try it. At that moment, he transcended. The food was the most delicious he had ever tasted in his entire life. It felt like every particle of flavor was flowing through his body. And so he became passionate about food. That had brought back in him the hope of having a better life. He even told the old man that he had gone bankrupt and had $1 million debt, but that he had regained hope and asked for help to make delicious food that could bring life back to people. What are you waiting for, kid? Get in here. I'll teach you how to prepare these delicious dishes. And so 3 years had passed, and the boy promised he would repay old Diok's kindness. Old Diok had passed away and left the food truck to our protagonist. And while he cooked, the old man's ghost appeared to him. And even though the ghost tried to talk to Junior, he couldn't hear anything. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to a luxury restaurant. The employees commented about a woman who had rented out the entire place for herself. That was the only daughter of the HS group, our dear Sophia. The girl had asked the best chefs in the restaurant to prepare something for her. The girl was so rich and famous that the employees followed all her stories. At that moment, she cut a piece of meat and complained that it was kind of disgusting. The paparazzi were recording her every move. She put that piece of meat in her mouth, and the chef was there all tense, asking if she liked the flavor. But Sophia simply threw up all over the table. After wiping her mouth, she thought, how is it possible that there isn't a single food I like? She had already tried the best restaurants in the world, and all of them made her sick. She even felt like she was dying slowly because nothing gave her pleasure anymore, and so she decided to go home. Being the spoiled heiress wasn't that easy, guys. She even commented that her life was suffocating, and after she mentioned the word suffocating, the driver asked if she wanted to open the window, but the young man noticed that his lady was already outside, chubby girl. Then he asked his boss where she thought she was going, and the girl was jumping between cars. Desperate, the poor worker kept calling Miss Kim to warn her that Miss Sophia had run away. And there was our dear girl wandering through the streets. So she wouldn't be tracked, she left her purse and her phone inside the car, and now she would be free to explore the world. But she forgot to take money in her credit card, and the only thing she had were checks worth 10 million WS each. Since she needed money, she ended up seeing a job advertisement. They needed someone to work at the counter, and since she was beautiful, she easily got the job. A rude customer showed up, but she didn't have any talent at all. Then an old man came and wanted to trade a bottle of liquor for a chicken, and since she didn't understand how things worked, she accepted it. The store owner decided to check if everything was going well, and when he arrived, the place was a complete mess, full of feathers and tiny footprints. With a smile on her face, she said the sales were great, but of course she ended up getting fired. With nowhere to go, she started crying. In the afternoon, she got hungry and went to a coffee shop. When she arrived, she looked at the menu and kept trying to decide what to order. After getting a coffee, she asked how much it cost, and trying to flirt a bit, the old man said it cost only 6 million. What? 6 million is too much? I'm not paying that much, she said, and she ran away. But the girl was so innocent and silly that she ended up leaving 5 checks behind. Now she was really screwed. At that moment, she realized how hard life was for someone who wasn't an heiress. Yeah, my dear, I think you're feeling what we feel. And finally, she started crying, asking why her life was so hard. But the place where she had fallen to cry was exactly in front of our protagonist's stall. He was grilling some fish skewers and asked her if she wanted one since she was drooling. Huh, what a strange girl. Looks like she's staring at me. Actually, Sophia was feeling embarrassed because she had no money, so she immediately asked if he sold on credit and even tried to act cute, but our guy said he didn't sell on credit. Credit only for those over 95, accompanied by their parents. Hearing that, she felt at rock bottom and sadly said she was useless since she had no money. And our hero remembered himself 3 years ago. Because of that, he invited the girl to come into his trailer to work with him. Then he went outside and told her to serve him. But poor Sophia had no idea how to make a skewer, so our hero decided to go up there and teach the girl. He put some batter into the mold and then added a piece of meat. He left the girl in charge, but she ended up burning it, and that fish skewer looked more like a piece of charcoal. Feeling ashamed, she told Dee that she had burned it. Then he took the girl's skewer and tried to take a bite. Then he paid her and said it was actually edible. So miss, now that you have money, you can buy my food. Hearing those words, she felt in love and looked at Junior, staring at him as if the boy were a Prince Charming, and so she received his coin. Huh, what a weird girl, she won't stop staring at me. After receiving her little package of skewers, she said she would come back often. And by the end of the day, he had sold all his stock. All cute, she kept saying she hoped she had done well. Huh, you mean with what? The food? It didn't go well, right? It was all burnt. Alright, fine, you did well. Then she got all excited, asking if she could work again tomorrow in exchange for food. She was calling him Diok, and he tried to explain that his name was Junior, but she ended up sneezing, not caring. Realizing it was already late and she might be cold, he took off his own jacket and put it on her. Oh boy, the girl was completely in love and didn't know where to hide her face. Even the original Diok was there, looking smitten. A little later, they were in the car, and our guy asked where she lived so he could take her home. But the girl got all shy, curled up in the corner and stuttering. She said she didn't really have a place to live. What? Don't tell me she's homeless. Besides being gorgeous, she even looks like a celebrity. Ah, that guy's a rascal, you'll see. He acts all tough, but deep down he has a soft heart. Then he reached out his hand, offering her money to rent a hotel room. And of course, she turned red like a pepper. She even asked if he was really that worried about her, and then they kept driving. He thought it was better to take her to his place, and ended up making instant noodles for her. He found the whole thing a bit suspicious, and he brought her home because he was afraid she might get hurt on the streets. And there in his apartment, she was completely charmed by the kitten. At dinner, he ended up preparing a delicious meal for her, and she kept saying she had never eaten anything like that, and he got all sad thinking she was really poor. Oh boy. Little did he know she was the most powerful person in Korea. She had said that she didn't eat those things because she followed a strict diet. While petting the kitten, she kept saying that it looked a lot like Mr. Diok. Our hero explained that this cat actually lived on the street and came to his house from time to time. After putting the cat on the floor, she kept saying that she imagined the cat lived there, since the house had many cat marks. And really guys, the house was quite dirty. It didn't even look like the guy was a cook. Then, dinner ended up being ready. When she saw that instant noodle, her eyes sparkled. It looked like she had never eaten ramen. Poor thing, she really must be very poor. Look at her face. She looked like a child playing with food. And he ended up explaining how he made that recipe. The girl had already tried many kinds of food, but none made her feel such a delicious flavor as his dishes. Then she kept saying that he was very talented. After finishing eating, she lay down on the floor saying that she was satisfied. She couldn't even remember the last time she had eaten so much and felt full. Very sleepy, she said she could sleep on the couch and he didn't need to worry about her. No, don't worry. We'll share the same bed, and I'll put this curtain in the middle. She agreed, and when she sat there, she asked if it wouldn't be too tight for him. No, not at all. I'm comfortable. The little ghost kept saying that his apprentice was a real fool. The guy was an idiot. But don't be mistaken, guys. This guy here wasn't a saint. You'll see. Poor Sophia was completely in love, saying she never imagined her adventure would be so romantic. Then Sophia ended up opening up to the boy, saying that thanks to him she had regained hope in humanity since she had hit rock bottom. Together with Diok, she was feeling what it meant to truly live. All shy, she kept saying that he had given her a precious day and that because of that she would reward him with whatever amount he wanted. She even asked how much he needed. Maybe about 300 million, right, my dear? But since the guy didn't answer, she decided to open the curtain and saw that Junior was already snoring. The guy fell asleep way too fast, but at that moment a light started shining through the window. It was a helicopter, and one of her employees was there to rescue her. They thought she had been kidnapped, guys. Meanwhile, she kept shouting for Diok-kun, the original ghost. He kept saying that the girl should go back and marry his apprentice, but poor Junior was already deep asleep. Early in the morning, he woke up to a destroyed room. Wait, what happened here? Was she in such a hurry that she jumped out the window? Early in the morning, he ended up going to his sales spot. The little ghost kept saying he had imagined he'd have a pretty and rich daughter-in-law. And at that moment, a commercial appeared on the city screens with Sophia as the actress. And the ghost realized that girl was really rich. Since she was famous, he started believing her when she said she would give Junior whatever amount he wanted. He even remembered the girl sweetly saying that all he had to do was tell her the amount and she would deposit it for him. And of course, the ghost got angry, saying his apprentice should have accepted it right away to pay the debt. He also knew that the girl who had been taken away was in love with his student. At that moment, Sophia returned to the food truck. Looks like you left early this morning without saying a word, huh? At that moment, she handed him a very generous check. The amount written there was 1 billion WS, which should be around $700 million. Damn, girl, I'd take it. You can leave it here for me. But of course, our guy didn't believe it. All cheerful, she started stepping into the truck, asking what was on the menu today. But since he didn't believe that check, he simply grabbed it and threw it in the trash. He even thought that this crazy girl had a few screws loose. The ghost tried to grab that check slip, but he couldn't. And all happy, Sophia asked what she could help with today. She shone brightly as if she were really happy. Then the guy said she could make the batter. Sophia could speak 15 languages, including Spanish, Chinese, English, Hindi, Arabic, and Portuguese. And she was also a great fighter, but she was a terrible cook. But what she really wanted was to stay close to her love, so she immediately tied up her hair. Wait, is this girl really going to work here? Listen, Sophia, you can't work wearing that outfit. You'll get all dirty. Smiling, she started unbuttoning her clothes, saying that was exactly why she came prepared. She took off that sweater, and underneath she was wearing workout clothes or something like pajamas. I don't know, anyone who understands fashion explain it to us. Seeing that, our protagonist immediately got all shy. This guy's a scoundrel. The guy got so startled that he hit his hand on the bowl, spilling all the potatoes into the hot oil, and that started splashing towards Sophia. While she was asking why the boy was so startled, realizing she might get burned, he stepped in front of her and protected her like a true hero. And as expected, it was meant to create a very romantic scene between them. She had gotten very close to Junior's face, and at that moment, he heard one of his customers calling his name. The girl was completely confused. Wait, they're going to get the wrong idea about us. The scene changes to the president of the HS company. She was literally the most powerful woman in Korea. Then she asked where her daughter was. One of the employees got all nervous, saying he didn't know where Sophia had gone. And by snapping her fingers, she called Miss Kim, who was her secretary, and asked her to locate her daughter because she would personally go get the girl. And so she ended up taking her mafia guild after our protagonist. The ghost recognized that she was the president of HS, and Sophia's mother's bodyguard immediately went after poor Junior. And within a few seconds he was detained. The woman thought our protagonist had kidnapped the girl. Miss Kim got all angry, asking what that jerk was doing with Miss Sophia, but the company president said her people should calm down and listen to what he had to say. Depending on your answer, you might die right now. It was clear that dear Junior was not a lucky guy, right? Poor dude. So he explained that he had that food truck and worked there selling food. Sophia also said that she had gone there of her own free will. Holding one of the skewers, the woman asked how much it cost. Junior said it cost 10,000, and the woman said that was poor people's food. Seeing that scene caused by her mother, the girl felt terrible since her mom was humiliating the boy she liked. The woman even said that if he wanted to marry her daughter, he would have to stop doing that kind of work. And look at his face. After all, the difference in status between the two was huge. The woman asked if that poor man liked her daughter. No, I don't like her. I don't even really know this girl. But Sophia's mother thought he was lying, and even asked if he was the one who had been with her last night sleeping in the same bed. He tried to explain, and Sophia stood there completely in love, remembering how she had almost slept right next to him. After finding out it was true, Miss Kim got furious, and the girl's mother thought it was absurd. But Junior slammed his hand on the table, saying he hadn't done anything wrong with that girl. They just slept, but the president approached the boy and said that if he ever did anything bad to her daughter, he would die. Actually, she said she would cut those things down there, but I thought that was too heavy to say in the video. Shaking all over, surrounded by mafiosos, he stammered, not knowing what to say. The president also said he could very well marry her daughter, but he would have to give up the food truck. That mobile restaurant was the most important thing in his life, so he refused. At that moment, the president snapped her fingers and called Miss Kim. She had brought a suitcase full of money. The ghost kept saying his student should accept it, and the girl in the background kept telling her mother not to do it because she was trying to buy the boy. The president was offering 10 billion for him to marry Sophia, but our guy slammed his hand on that suitcase, throwing the money into the air. He said he didn't want that money, leaving Sophia shocked. Even the president hadn't expected that. He really needed money to pay his debt, but he wanted to earn it honestly, guys. Wait, you said you'd give me that money if I married her. He looked at Sophia and even thought it wouldn't be such a bad thing since the girl was really cute. However, he refused, saying he would never marry that girl. That's way too embarrassing. And Sophia started yelling, telling her mother not to do that. But the president insisted, and our hero said again that he would never marry someone that way. Poor girl, she was red like a pepper, and even said it was very humiliating. Think carefully, boy. You're poor. This could change your life. No use, lady. You can forget it. I'm not quitting my food truck job. Pointing her finger at Junior's nose, she kept saying that boy was really cute, so she said it once again. He had to abandon that restaurant truck. She also kept saying that he should become the new heir of the HS company, but he got angry and closed that suitcase. At that moment, he asked if by any chance she was also part of the conspirators who wanted to get rid of his truck. Listen here, old lady, I know very well that there are people who want to destroy this truck, and I won't let it happen. Besides, you smell like a scammer. The woman said she found his boldness interesting, but the thing she hated the most was people she couldn't control. While grabbing a small container of food, he said that woman could leave because he wouldn't change his mind. And do me a favor, don't ever come back here again. And that goes for you too, Sophia. Hearing those words, she asked if Deok-kun was really telling the truth. In the end, her mother had destroyed her dream of winning Deok's heart. The scene shifts to the HS company building. The girl was very sad, talking to her mother. She had spent her whole life doing everything her mother wanted, and now that she wanted to have her own life, her mother wouldn't let her. Just when she had found someone she liked, her mother went and ruined everything. Completely calm, the president said that she was trading all her fortune for a simple poor man. And she kept saying that those commoners were worth nothing and were on a different level. She even tried to explain to her daughter that people like them should date others of the same level, and she also asked if her daughter had already broken up with Deok. The president said that in fact she didn't care who her daughter dated, since no one in the world was on their level anyway. But since her daughter wanted to date Deok, she would allow it. All they needed to do was make sure he never used that food truck again. Yeah, guys, there was a very dark reason why everyone wanted to get rid of his food truck. And the woman even threatened her daughter, saying she would only let her go out with that boy if she managed to convince him to stop cooking. And we could really see how hard it must have been to be Sophia, since her mother was completely insane and manipulative. The scene goes back to the restaurant truck. He was cleaning Deok's photo frame, and even told the old man that he promised to take good care of that food truck. And the little ghost kept saying he should give up that old truck and take the money. At that moment, he remembered dear Sophia and even regretted saying those words. He remembered how beautiful and sweet she was, and even thought that all of it had been an act to deceive him. The guy got angry because he had almost fallen in love. And very serious, he said he wouldn't fall for another scam, since the last one 3 years ago had almost ruined his life. The scene goes to the girl's house, and she was crying in her room extremely depressed. That was because Deok had told her never to return to that restaurant, and it was all her mother's fault, who was a villain constantly trying to control her life. If it weren't for her mother, she would be snuggled up with Deok right now, since he was her Prince Charming, and she wanted to spend the rest of her life by his side. The guy had done romantic things no one had ever done for her, and that's why the girl believed he was her soulmate. And because of Deok's actions, she had fallen in love with him. But the girl suddenly got an idea and ran toward the door. She hugged Miss Kim and said she should get everything ready. What do you mean, my dear? Ready for what? She said she was going to make Deok an offer. The scene changes to the next day. The guy was saying the day was very beautiful. He heard a strange noise, and when he looked at the sky, there was a helicopter. They were towing his truck. I can't believe this. I'm being robbed. When he looked closely, it really was his food truck. Poor guy, it was on top of the building, and he couldn't do anything. So he ran down the stairs and started sprinting desperately through the street. To go faster, he ended up renting a bicycle, and so he started pedaling as fast as he could. When he arrived at the place where the helicopter was, the guy was already exhausted, and that's when he started to understand everything. There was a much larger truck, wrapped like a gift. The truck's door began to open, and our dear Sophia was inside, dressed as a bride. She appeared and welcomed Deok-kun. All embarrassed, she said she had prepared all of that exactly for him. But when we looked at Dear Junior's face, we could already see he wasn't happy at all. She had stolen, in quotes, his food truck and prepared a much more high-tech one for him, thinking he would like it. And she even explained that inside were all the latest high-tech cooking tools. She thought he would love that gift, but that's not what happened. He got furious and started yelling at her. No man, don't do that to the poor girl. In the girl's mind, she imagined herself preparing food for him, and it would be at that moment that he would show up and help her. The girl had created that fantasy in her head, that they would cook together, just like that other time last week, and she even imagined him speaking in a charming voice, saying that she shouldn't worry about it because it was dangerous. She would say that she wanted to cook for him, and then they would kiss in a very romantic way. In her fantasies, he said that he loved her, and back to reality, she was telling Miss Kim all about her plan. The secretary asked what she saw in that poor man, and the girl's plan was to sell her jewel to buy that truck. She was so rich that they basically owned the most valuable paintings in the entire world. Besides that, the HS company also owned several space stations. And the secretary kept saying that she shouldn't fall in love with a poor guy like that cook. But it was no use. Miss Sophia was hopelessly in love. However, she knew her mother would be an obstacle. But it didn't matter, guys. She was determined to follow her heart. After all, those moments she had with Deo-kun back in the trailer were the best moments of her entire life. There was no happiness that could be bought with money. She told Miss Kim that she would give up all her wealth just to be with him. And all excited, she said she would make Deo-kun the happiest man in the world. The little ghost even joked, saying he would be the Cinderella's Prince Charming, and that he should even put the glass slipper on Sophia's foot. The guy could live a calm and peaceful life by the girl's side. However, he was furious. He was very angry, asking if she had destroyed his food truck, and even said she was trying to scam him. The girl was so startled that she began to stutter. Miss Kim appeared to save her boss, asking what was going through that guy's head. In fact, guys, he was traumatized since he had fallen for that scam 3 years ago. That's why he thought everyone wanted to trick him. But is it just a conspiracy theory, or is it real? Keep watching. Miss Kim said that he was an idiot, and that Sophia truly loved him. But the guy broke free and said he wouldn't fall for that talk again. He even said that it didn't matter if she was rich or not. The only thing he wanted was peace. He even told her to stop calling him Deok-kun, since that was the name of the restaurant, not his name. And that no matter what they tried to do, he would never give up his food truck. He even pointed at his heart, saying that if she wanted to take it, she would have to go through him first. And of course, she completely misunderstood it. She imagined he was saying she should win his heart, and look how she was seeing him, guys, as if he were a Prince Charming. But the girl was very delusional, guys, so he repeated that she should never come back there again. He thought the girl was part of that conspiracy trying to destroy his food truck. The next day, our hero was working peacefully in his food truck. The guy was putting ketchup and seasoning, and in the end, he handed the food to a customer. From afar, Sophia was watching everything, happy because the restaurant was doing well, and that good movement was thanks to the mafioso she had sent to buy from the guy. He thought it was very strange, and when he tried to look for Sophia, she hid behind a tree. Then, completely disguised, she went there to try to buy a skewer, but it didn't work, so she put on another disguise. And finally, she even went wearing a giant dog head, but our hero refused to sell to her. Listen here, Sophia, I know it's you. The girl started yelling, asking why he was being so mean. She just wanted to eat some delicious food, but the guy kept saying it was because she wanted to scam him. At that moment, she shouted loudly, saying she would do anything to taste his food again. That girl is really strange. Does she really like me, or is she trying to scam me? At that moment, the guy suddenly hugged Sophia. Her little heart stopped for a moment. Wait, What is he trying to do to me? She even imagined that a romantic scene was about to begin, and she was already preparing to kiss him. Calm down, girl. What are you doing? In fact, he wasn't hugging her, guys. He was putting on an apron and explained that he put it on so she wouldn't get dirty. But she took off all her clothes and said it didn't matter if she got dirty. There she goes again trying to make me fall in love with her. After a lot of insistence, she finally gave in and put on the uniform. And so our guy made her work as a waitress, and someone was filming everything. She even tried to fry some food, and later she was eating calmly. It was Miss Kim who was recording everything and even sent those photos and videos to the president of HS. Sophia's mother ended up giving some instructions to her secretary, and then the scene moved to nighttime at the guy's house. Junior had already taken a shower and ended up receiving a call. Sophia had sent a cute picture and even asked if by any chance she didn't look good in that outfit, but Junior thought the girl just wanted to seduce him to steal his food truck, so he ignored the messages. At that moment, he started writing an email. He had made a petition to place his food truck in an amusement park, and the next morning, when he arrived there, the place was empty. He had prepared delicious ice creams and several sweets. He even imagined he would make a lot of money to pay off his debt. But there was one problem. The park was empty. No one was there, which was strange since the sky was beautiful. He heard a noise, and the one who showed up was none other than Sophia. She ended up biting a piece of ice cream, and while wiping her mouth, she said to Diok that she had arrived. What? How did you find me in this place? Ah, wait, I know. He pulled out an ice cream and asked if by any chance the place belonged to her, since the girl was very rich, but she said no, and even explained that no customers would come to the park today. That was because she had rented the entire park, which had cost more than 5 million. For the entire month, the park belonged only to her, and while she kept trying to seduce him, he imagined that this way he would go bankrupt without selling anything. But at that moment, Sophia pulled him, saying this was the perfect opportunity for them to have a date. They would have the whole park to themselves, just the two of them, and in the background, spying on everything, was Miss Kim. She was there under the president's orders. A little annoyed, Miss Kim agreed and stayed there getting in their way. She was angry because the president had said that if she failed, she would be fired, and furious she said she would prove she could handle the job. The president had said her daughter had gone off track because of that man, and the only way to restore Sophia's purity was to eliminate that boy from her life, and Miss Kim said she would try to make that boy fall in love with her instead. Ah, my dear, it's going to be hard for you to make our protagonist fall for you. The secretary had even watched some videos before, actually a course on how to win a man's heart. She was determined to make our hero fall hopelessly for her. Wait, why is this woman staring at me like that? And the ride started spinning. Sophia was having a lot of fun, but the secretary couldn't take her eyes off the guy. I don't think that expression of yours is going to work, huh, Miss Kim? Poor Junior wasn't used to it and began to feel sick. And on the other rides, he almost suffocated since Miss Kim wouldn't let go of him. But in the end, he was actually having fun. When it was over, Sophia was all cheerful, saying the day had been wonderful. Meanwhile, the poor guy was soaked, since Miss Kim had protected only Sophia with the umbrella when the water splashed. All happy, she got close to Junior and said she wanted to have more days like that with him. Then they went to the clothing shop in the park and bought a matching outfit. When taking pictures, she tried to kiss his cheek, but he blocked it with his hand. After that, they went on that spinning ride, and since she lost her balance, she ended up jumping on top of him. Miss Kim said that shameless man was trying to take advantage of Sophia, so she jumped in to stop them, but she also lost her balance, guys, and tried to reach out to grab the boy. What's wrong with you, woman? If you're a secretary, shouldn't you at least be able to protect her? After hearing that provocation, Miss Kim became furious and immediately grabbed the boy's hand and gave him a karate throw, slamming him hard on the floor. The poor guy just wanted to work in peace, guys, and holding Sophia in her arms, she called our hero a shameless jerk. After that, they decided to go to a carousel since the ride was less extreme. He didn't understand why Sophia had such an innocent face when she was trying to steal his food truck, and on the other hand, he also didn't understand why the secretary kept staring at him all the time. Trying to provoke him, she began spinning the ride and did it with full strength. Sophia, as always, was having fun, but Diok was feeling sick, and after fainting, she whispered in his ear that he should fall in love with her, trying some kind of hypnosis. She kept trying that for several minutes, but when he woke up, he grabbed her hand and asked her to stop. By touching Miss Kim's hand, she started to sweat cold. The guy was so handsome that she was actually starting to fall for him for real. She even commented that his hands were very strong. That strange feeling was something she had never felt before. All shy, she turned her face away while he asked why she was turning red. Stuttering, she asked him to let go, and the guy asked if she promised not to keep spinning, a bit annoyed. She thought that guy was using his own technique to reverse the situation and make her feel in love. At that moment, she looked toward her lady to see if she wasn't noticing that somewhat awkward scene. But poor Sophia was also feeling sick, guys. She was dizzy. Because of that, the secretary quickly grabbed her lady. At that moment, Sophia's little stomach started growling with hunger. She became very embarrassed since Daok had heard everything. So she whispered to her secretary to take the blame, saying it was her stomach that was growling, and that's exactly what the secretary did, saying that sound had come from her own stomach. But our hero said he had heard them whispering, and that made the secretary angry. Minutes later, Sophia went to the bathroom, and he went to a shooting gallery. If he managed to hit the prizes, he could take them home. But then Miss Kim appeared, saying she wanted to make a bet. The guy simply took a deep breath, and even said she'd been annoying him for a long time, asking what she wanted. Pointing the gun, she said she would be direct. He should make a choice, or else he would simply die. The guy was already sweating cold, and she kept saying he should choose to fall in love with her. What kind of nonsense is that, girl? That's crazy. She was simply giving him the option to fall in love with Kim. "What's this? I'm not falling in love with you. Are you going insane? Even if you offered me a mountain of money, I wouldn't fall in love with you, and much less with Sophia." Hearing that, she pulled the trigger, and the shot grazed our hero. The guy started sweating cold because he realized that gun wasn't a toy, and furious, she screamed, asking if by any chance he was trying to scam her. The guy fell to the ground and started writhing in pain. The shot had hit his shoulder, and she said that gun was actually loaded with rubber bullets and that she would give him one last chance to give the right answer. Screaming, she said he should admit that he was in love with her. My god, that woman is crazy. She aimed to shoot him in the back, but then Sophia appeared, and since the guy was running, he ended up bumping into the princess. He even held her in his arms, and the girl didn't understand anything anymore. Miss Kim realized that Jerk was using Sophia as a hostage, so she couldn't shoot the boy. Throwing her clothes and gun to the floor, she said that if Deok wasn't hers, then he wouldn't belong to anyone else. Ignoring the secretary, they went to a haunted house. It was a building with an old-fashioned theme, and who was there was the little ghost, holding the guy's arm. She asked if he finally agreed to go on a date with her. He said yes, that she should stay very close to him. At that moment, she became even more in love. Poor girl, right guys? He was just trying to use her now. Watching everything was Miss Kim. She was watching through the security cameras, and dressed as a ghost, she went to the control center to try to scare them herself. Sophia explained that this haunted house was the most popular attraction in the park. At that moment, he stepped on a trap and instantly realized something very bad was about to happen. What passed right there was a giant cleaver. He even had to jump backward to dodge it. My god, this is way too realistic. Chuckling, she said that house was going to get even better since the traps were extremely real. And at that moment, an arrow almost hit the guy. He even had to crouch. And because of that, he ended up falling to the ground with Sophia on top of him. Smiling, she reached out her hand to help him up. And the guy was terrified, saying Sophia was much scarier than the house. The secretary found something a little strange there. That was because the traps she was setting were only intensifying the relationship between the two, making Sophia stick even closer to Deok. In the end, even people dressed as zombies appeared, and he had to run away carrying her in his arms. At that moment, Miss Kim grabbed a flashlight and said she would go downstairs to scare them herself. She was dressed as a ghost, intending to frighten them, and began running through the house trying to find him. He also had a flashlight and managed to see her approaching, and the guy almost took a kick to the face. When he pointed the flashlight again, he realized she had vanished, but we saw she had jumped off the wall, throwing herself at the boy while shouting that he wouldn't belong to anyone else. Worried, Sophia decided to press an emergency button, and a cage ended up falling over the two of them. Kim tried to understand what was happening. In fact, the two of them had ended up kissing. She pulled away, saying his lips were very soft. And all angry, she kicked the boy, saying he really was a shameless man. My god, the poor guy didn't do anything, guys, and he just keeps getting in trouble. All shy, she took off the ghost costume and said she had sworn she would kill him. Meanwhile, he kept saying he just wanted to go home. Then Sophia went over and reached out her hand, saying she would take him back. And so they ended up leaving the haunted house. Pressing the button on her watch, she said she wouldn't let him escape. The guy was already wondering where the secretary was, and with a mischievous smile, Sophia kept saying that now they were alone. He even said that she needed to stop doing those things, and so she tried to make a move on the boy. A bit embarrassed, he asked what he had to do to make her give up. In a romantic scene, she said he knew very well what she wanted, and little by little she got closer. What she really wanted was to be with him. But at that moment, the ride broke down, and the secretary's watch started making an error sound, and at that instant, the whole park went into a blackout. But soon after, the lights came back on, and Sophia started wondering where Deok had gone. He had taken off. This girl is making a fool out of me. She just wants to trick me. He would break the contract that required him to stay in that park, but it was necessary since otherwise he would just stay there losing money. And he even imagined that if he kept getting involved with that family, he could end up dead since each one of them was crazier than the other. And he commented that even though Sophia was very beautiful and sweet, she also seemed a little crazy. He still kept promising Mr. Gok that he wouldn't let anyone steal his truck and even asked the old man to watch over it. Back at the HS Company building, the secretary apologized to the president. Sophia's mother was disappointed because the secretary hadn't managed to make the mission work. The goal was to separate her daughter from that man. And with a crazy look, Kim said she would make sure that boy would never cook again in his life. The president threatened Miss Kim, saying that if she couldn't complete this mission, she would be the one to go down. In other words, she would be the one in trouble. And the woman continued threatening her, saying she couldn't let her daughter become depressed again, since last time she had hit rock bottom, and it had been very hard to bring her back to normal. At that time, Sophia had seen her father being run over right before her eyes. That was 20 years ago, and she herself had caused her father's death. Our protagonist had signed up for a food competition. Actually, it was an event that would feature several dishes, but he wasn't really in the mood to compete. While putting the pizza in the oven, he waited for the right time to take it out, and when the timer beeped, he turned the oven off. The pizza was crispy and juicy. He hoped that this time he would sell a lot since the amusement park event had only brought losses. The place was full of college students since it was right next to a university. He remembered the time when he was a student and was even happy, saying that had been a long time ago. At that moment, 2 new customers appeared, but our guy seemed to recognize that blonde girl. She was Park Yuri, and the girl was surprised because she had found Junior. He remembered her from when she was still in middle school, and all shy, she said it had been a long time. He couldn't believe how much she had changed and was happy that she had managed to get into a university. And when the girl saw Junior, she became completely smitten. Even her cheeks turned red. Junior asked if that boy next to her was her boyfriend, and she shouted that he definitely wasn't. Then he asked her to try a slice of pizza he had made, and when the girl took a bite, she realized it was truly delicious. The pepperoni had perfect seasoning, and the cheese was stretching. The food was so good she felt like she was in the clouds, and the food was so good it made her want to eat more and more. However, she was on a diet and couldn't go overboard. It was as if she were lying in a golden wheat field. She had never tasted food that delicious before, and all excited she asked Junior how he had learned to cook like that. Laughing, he said he was glad she liked it. The girl's friend said she was going to break her diet. The girl said she was studying fashion design, and he remembered when she had graduated to high school. She was very smart, and sometimes he even gave her money to buy snacks at school. That's why he smiled and said he was proud of her for getting into Korea University. And since it was the best university in the country, he decided to reward her and ended up giving her 2 slices of pizza. Of course, the girl completely melted, and at that moment 2 of her friends called her and her companion. As she left, she thanked him for the food. It had been years since she had last seen the boy she had always been in love with. Then she turned around and thanked Junior again. Our hero simply waved, telling her to focus on her studies. And smiling, she agreed, saying, "Got it." At that moment, she received a message on her phone. It was a boy saying he had seen her talking to a man in a food truck, and even threatening that he would eliminate that man. The girl was terrified, as if she were being threatened by someone, and she felt scared. She even thought it would be very difficult to get rid of that person. At that moment, someone called the girl. It was her friends, and the girl even apologized for being so distracted, and so she ran off to college. During class, she couldn't stop thinking about Junior and even started drawing him in her notebook. Her friend from the park showed up, asking what she was doing. She got embarrassed and tried to hide the notebook, but she ended up looking outside and saw our dear Junior. He was still selling food, and all excited, she thought about going back there to talk to him. But at that moment, she bumped into someone. She ended up putting a bandage on her head, and her friends kept saying she'd been acting distracted ever since she talked to the owner of the food truck. They even teased her, saying she liked an older guy, and she got all mad, saying he wasn't that much older. At that moment, she remembered when she was still in middle school and used to go out every day to meet him at her doorstep. That boy was her first love. He was already in college while she was still in middle school. Sometimes he offered her candy, and the girl got all flustered, asking if he was calling her a kid, but it was those moments she spent with Junior that made her fall in love. She also remembered one time at the end of the year. She was leaving the place where she took prep classes, and who she ran into was none other than Junior. She had brought with her a Christmas gift for our hero. He accepted the gift and teased, saying that Christmas presents like that were only given to boyfriends. She got all shy when he said that, and at that moment he realized she might like him. The girl immediately grabbed his hand. She thought that since she was almost in high school and would soon turn 18 and go to college, she couldn't wait to confess her love to him. Our hero knew the girl liked him, but still, she was too young. At that moment, he shouted that her hands were freezing and even took off his headphones, saying she should warm up her ears. After leaving, he told her to take care, not to catch a cold, but she ended up dropping to the ground in front of the apartment and whispered softly, wishing him a Merry Christmas. The girl even fainted. That's how in love she was. She imagined that they could be together, but one day he simply disappeared. But fate was bringing them together again since she had found him once more. That was Junior, her first love. Later, the girl came back holding a soda can and asked if he had a moment, even offering him another can. This one's already my favorite character, guys. Sitting down on a bench in the square, he even commented that it was getting cold quickly. She was holding a present in her hands and shyly asked if he had a girlfriend. While drinking the soda, he said no. Actually, there was that Sophia girl who kept annoying him, and stammering, trying to hide her shyness, she asked if he really didn't have any girlfriend at all. Standing up, she hid the present and said that now she was an adult and a university student. That's why she wanted to give this to him. She was about to confess all her love, but the helicopter made too much noise, stopping Junior from hearing what she was saying. And to make things worse, someone had jumped out of the helicopter, and it was Sophia who was up there. Wait, isn't that Sophia, the richest girl in Korea? And the only thing our hero could think was how this girl always showed up at the worst moments. Why is this crazy girl here? She jumped down and ran to try to hug him. Poor Park Yuri ended up being left aside. The guy asked how that crazy girl managed to find him in that place, and at that moment, the blonde realized that the two of them were in a relationship. She even asked what they were, and Sophia replied that they were engaged. Of course, he wasn't dating, he was engaged. That was the truth. But the guy tried to explain, though it was a really long story. Stammering, the girl asked her friend why he hadn't told her the truth, and Sophia kept saying that this nosy girl should leave right away because she was interrupting their relationship. She even got close, trying to intimidate her. Hey girl, do you like Kun by any chance? Dio Kun? Is she talking about Junior? Yeah, my dear, you're going to have to compete with the richest girl in Korea. It won't be easy. Our hero came closer and told the blonde not to worry about that crazy girl, but poor Park didn't even hear what he said. She was only wondering how he managed to date such a rich woman, and she even thought that was impossible for her. She wouldn't be able to compete with that girl. Poor blonde. When he had given her that slice of pizza, she thought she might have a chance to be with him. But now she realized her rival was much more powerful. She looked at the two and even commented that they did look like a couple. Trying to hide her sadness, she waved goodbye and said she was leaving to go to work. Our hero noticed the girl was sad and even wondered if she was planning to confess her feelings to him at that moment. The scene shifts to the next day right at Dio-kun's food truck. Sophia showed up there saying she was very hungry, and he immediately offered her a slice of pizza. The girl said she had already eaten pizzas from the highest-rated restaurants in Europe, and since she had never liked pizza, she commented that surely his would be very delicious. But of course our guy there was suspicious, thinking that this girl was trying to fool him. I'm sure she's trying to scam me. Since he wouldn't take her money, he put an apron on the girl, saying she should pay for the slice of pizza with work. And trying to make him fall in love, the girl said she was very beautiful and could pay him with a kiss, but no. He put the girl to work making pizza dough, and when he went to check on her progress, she was eating the toppings, so he decided to show her how to do it first, and told her that she should start by stretching it. When he looked to the side, she was eating the raw dough. He placed the girl's dough on the table and taught her how to stretch it properly. While he was explaining, she was thinking she was inside a completely romantic K-drama, and raising her head, she asked, "What's the next step?" "Next step for what, girl? I'm teaching you how to make dough. Get out of here." He started spinning the dough like a disc, and everyone around took out their phones to film, since he was very skilled. At that moment, the toppings started flying everywhere, and after topping the dough, they put the pizza in the oven, and within 10 minutes, it was ready. The girl took a bite, and for the first time she had liked a pizza. She even commented that the flavor was incredible. Meanwhile, our hero was still doubting everything, thinking she was only trying to make him fall in love so they could steal his food truck. And when he looked at the girl, she was stretching the cheese. "Look at me, Dioke. Look at me. My God, this woman acts like a child." A customer asked for a slice of pizza, and he was about to serve it when he realized it was his friend Park Yuri. But now she had short hair. She approached him, trying to charm him with a smile on her face, and the guy didn't know how to react. Even Sophia asked if that was the blonde from yesterday. Wait a second, she really does look very pretty with that hair. And at that instant, a big rivalry between the two started to bloom. Comment below which one you prefer, Sophia or Park Yuri. All awkward, he was there trying to stop the two from killing each other. A little shy, she asked if her hair looked weird. He said no and told her it looked very pretty and suited her well. And in the background, Sophia asked if she looked pretty today too. My God, what an annoying girl. And Park got angry, saying that Sophia was ruining the mood. She also walked inside saying she would help him, and now he had two girls on his back. Oh man, don't make that face. If this isn't the face of a vegan, I don't know what is. But the one who showed up asking what the girl was doing was none other than Miss Kim, who even took the girl away. Park celebrated, and our hero said she would have a lot of work to do if she wanted to help. He even joked, smearing flour on her nose, but that made her mad, saying she had paid a lot for her makeup. "Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that," but she laughed and ended up pushing his head into the table full of flour. And so our hero's face turned completely white, looking like a ghost. "Come here, let me clean you up." While she cleaned him, the girl's heart started beating faster, and then she asked what kind of girl he liked, and when he opened his eyes, he found himself face to face with that beauty. My ideal type. Actually, I've never really thought about that. Then he started visualizing the type of girl he liked. She couldn't have very long hair since he liked short and light-colored hair. And he also didn't like skin that was too pale. And another important thing was that this woman shouldn't have too much money or connections. He liked the type of woman who achieved things through her own hard work. He said things completely opposite to Sophia, since he was getting irritated with that girl. And then Park hit him with the towel on his face. He had just described Park Yuri, short, light hair and tan skin. Plus she worked hard. At that moment she realized he had described her perfectly, and got all emotional. Could it be that he likes me too? She thought that now she finally had the chance to confess her love, but then someone ended up showing up beside her. Our hero took the towel off his face and noticed that someone was threatening his friend. The guy was saying he'd been following her steps and started whispering threats in her ear. "Hey man, who are you?" The guy looked like a yakuza and kept threatening Park Yuri. Then he said he was the girl's boyfriend and even mentioned that she looked much prettier with that haircut. Holding back tears, she said she had already broken up with him, but he kept squeezing her, saying she wasn't the one who decided that, and if she ever broke up with him, he would beat her up. With tears in her eyes, the poor girl begged him to stop, and that was when she realized her friend was there to save her. Our hero started pulling that shameless jerk's ear hard, and the guy started screaming like a little girl. But our hero didn't stop there, guys. He made sure to humiliate that shameless man, and even threw him far away. "How about you calm down a bit, huh, long hair?" Trying not to cry, that guy started asking who this cook thought he was to interfere in his relationship. "Who am I?" He looked to the side and saw that Park Yuri was crying a lot, so he hugged his friend, saying that he was her current boyfriend. She was left totally confused. Poor thing. And the long-haired man asked why Park Yuri was going out with some random loser. "Enough, man. Get out of here. If you don't disappear in 3 seconds, I'll split you in half." People around started taking photos and videos, and everyone was saying that the long-haired man was harassing the girl, so he decided to leave, but he shouted loudly that she would regret this. Speaking in a threatening tone, Junior told the girl not to worry because he would protect her, and that was when she hugged him from behind, thanking him for everything. She even apologized, but he told her she didn't need to. Wiping her tears, he said she shouldn't be crying, especially since her makeup was expensive, and crying would make it smudge. At that moment, she gave him a tight hug and thought it was impossible not to fall in love with someone so kind. But right then, her friends showed up asking why she was hugging that guy, and when she looked forward, she realized she was really close to Junior, so she screamed in shock and accidentally kneed him in the face. Poor guy just couldn't catch a break, guys. And she quickly crouched down, apologizing, saying she did it out of surprise. She raised her head and asked her friends to wait. Her friends told her that actually their booth at the festival had been completely wrecked, so she ran off with our hero to see what had happened. One of the girls said someone had destroyed all their ingredients, and the two already knew it was that jerk, the girl's ex-boyfriend. Because of that, poor Park Yuri felt guilty, saying that all this was her fault. Apologizing, the girl said she would find a way to fix everything. So our hero went into the department area and started checking the remaining ingredients, saying he could still make several delicious dishes. What? Are you serious? The other girls questioned if it was really possible to make tasty food with what was left. He immediately put on his little hat, telling them to leave it to him. You'll see how it's possible to make delicious food. That night, the fashion design booth became a huge success. Their department was the most crowded of all, and the girl went up to Junior saying he was truly amazing. She even asked if he had used magic or something. The guy said no, explaining that he had only used his cooking skills. He was so good that he didn't even need many ingredients. With very little, he made several dishes, and just by looking at that food, Park was already drooling. One of the customers asked if the food was ready, and she said yes, rushing to serve it. And our hero thought that she really looked beautiful. But I can't focus on that kind of thing. I need to focus on paying my debt first. Park Yuri was so beautiful that she caught the attention of all the customers, and our hero couldn't take his eyes off her. While people were saying the food was delicious, someone ended up showing up in the back. Junior told the girl he was going to the bathroom and stepped out. It was the girl's ex-boyfriend, and he had broken into the booth. He noticed his ex-girlfriend was very happy, so he planned to ruin all her joy. He grabbed something and started pouring it over the food, and when Junior showed up, he caught the guy red-handed. The jerk tried to escape, and our hero decided to check the pot on the stove, realizing the guy really had thrown something in there. When he tried to go after the long-haired man, he saw it was too late. He had disappeared. Park came back and asked what had happened, and he explained that her ex-boyfriend had put something in the food. Worried, she immediately started thinking that it might be poison, but the guy was so stupid that he left the bottle behind, and Deok, seeing it, realized that it was only chili powder. My god, that guy is so dumb he can't even make a revenge plan properly. Now the food was completely full of chili. Park asked if it wouldn't be better to throw it away and cook it again, but our hero said there was no need, and added that no food should ever be wasted. The crazy guy was there relaxed, drinking his beer, even celebrating, saying that his plan had been successfully completed. In his mind, people would start insulting the fashion design booth. But that wasn't what was happening. People were praising it, so he went there to see what was going on. He noticed that a kind of spicy food contest was taking place, and he thought it was great, imagining that people would hate it. Even Park Yuri asked Junior if people wouldn't give them bad ratings, but our hero told her to wait 3 seconds. The long-haired guy was already celebrating, but our hero was confident that people would like it, and when time passed, they started asking for more soda. That way, besides selling food, they would also sell many more drinks. And the long-haired guy realized that his plan had failed. The fashion design department would sell much more in the sales contest. See how it worked? Smiling, he told the girl to trust him, because everything would turn out fine. She was already sweating cold and started celebrating, saying he seemed like a magician. So the young man explained what his technique was. He said that since the dish already had a lot of chili, he had intensified the spiciness even more. He adjusted the recipe to purposely make it a spicy dish. She decided to try a little and realized that it really felt like her mouth was on fire. She even joked, saying they would need to call the firefighters. But the flavor was so strong that it seemed addictive. She couldn't stop eating. And the same thing happened with everyone else. Our hero was happy because he was able to help his friend. And on the other hand, Park was even more in love. A little curious, Deok asked what had happened with that guy, and she said that at first he hadn't been a jerk. Quite the opposite. He had been the only person who befriended her when she first entered the university. But after she started making more friends, he became completely obsessive. He wouldn't even let her work on projects with her classmates, and because of that guy's obsession, she decided to end the relationship. But as expected, he didn't take it well at all. And she said that from that moment on, he started stalking her. She even started crying, poor thing, saying she had been so stupid for dating him, but our hero told her not to touch her eyes because she was cutting chili, and it would burn. Then he went to wipe her tears, but his hands were also covered in chili, guys, and that's why she started screaming and crying. Poor girl. The people who were watching commented that they made a beautiful couple, and her ex-boyfriend, who was nearby, said that they weren't even a real couple, but the girls there started shipping the two, saying they were a very cute couple. She hugged our hero and said she was very shy, even apologizing. He took a cup, poured a drink, and said they should enjoy the party too. Then everyone started drinking, and Junior became even more popular, with everyone calling his name, and of course he was enjoying it, since it was a great opportunity to make money. After that, the girls suggested a game, and he agreed. They had to draw sticks, and whoever got the highest number would win a kiss from him. The young man himself drew number 1, and all the girls became tense, wondering who would win a kiss from the cook. Park was nervous because she wanted to draw the highest number to be able to kiss him. However, she wasn't very lucky, guys, since she drew number 2. At that moment, someone passed by her, and the one who was there to kiss our hero was Sophia. The poor blonde ended up watching the whole scene, and the boy immediately got angry, asking what she was doing. He even said she was too bold, and the girl showed the stick with number 3, which was higher than the blonde's too. The college girls asked who that girl was, and one of her friends told Yuri not to worry because it was just a game. Our hero suspected that Sophia still wanted to scam him, so he told her to leave. And while adjusting her cap, she said that if she revealed her identity, he would gain a lot of fame. Are you a teenager to make such a fuss over a little kiss? But she said she could give him much more than just a kiss, and the guy immediately started spitting out his drink. What a shameless girl. A little shy, he asked if she was serious, and the girl hugged him, saying that had been her first kiss. but she could give him something much better. Then she ended up pulling our hero's arm, and poor Park Yuri was left behind. To drown her sorrows, she started drinking. Meanwhile, her friends were watching the whole romantic scene between Sophia and Deok. The beautiful one managed to convince the guy to go out with her, but at that moment Park Yuri called out to Sophia. The rich girl thought it was a challenge and immediately told the blonde that she was very good at fighting, even taking a combat stance. In fact, Park Yuri had called her to the university because she wanted to talk about something important. So the gorgeous one asked, "What do you want, shorty?" At that moment she pulled out her phone, and the brightness was so strong it ended up blinding the girl. At that moment she revealed that she had several photos of Junior. When she grabbed the girl's phone, her heart started beating faster, and while having a nosebleed she asked how much the blonde wanted for those photos. She offered 1 billion won, and the blonde was already tempted to sell the photos. To make the offer better, she offered 1 billion for each of the photos. Putting on a sweet face, Sophia asked if she would accept. Yuri thought she had about 100 photos, so that would be 100 billion won, but she slapped her own face, saying she couldn't accept that. Instead of taking the money, she wanted to ask for a favor. A favor? What do you mean a favor? That was right, and Park Yuri went there to show her something. It was a dress she had designed herself. Since Sophia was extremely famous, she wanted the girl to wear her dress at the fashion show. Meanwhile, our hero had returned to his food truck and was wondering what those two girls were talking about. Back at the university, Park Yuri explained that she was a fashion designer and wanted her project to be promoted. But Sophia refused and said that if she did that, she would be helping Park Yuri, and even added that if she became famous as a designer, she might win Deok's heart. Fixing her hair, she told the girl that the competition between them should be fair, and took Park Yuri in front of a mirror, saying she was very beautiful, and that she herself could wear that dress and show it to the world. The scene shifted to the day of the show. The host called for student Park Yuri. She was so nervous that everything looked distorted. The poor girl was anxious, thinking she wasn't good enough to show her own work. At that moment, her ex-boyfriend appeared. The poor thing got nervous, thinking this guy was going to ruin everything. He approached her and started threatening her, saying she would pay dearly for everything she had done to him. Then he walked away, which only worsened her insecurity. The host called her again, and the girl began to walk slowly. She felt as if everyone was looking at her with judging eyes. She even tried to hold back her tears, and then she heard someone shouting from the audience that she could do it. She recognized that voice. It was Junior and Sophia, holding signs that said she was amazing. Seeing that made her feel more motivated and confident, and so she managed to walk the runway. The girl was very beautiful, and that dress fit her perfectly. She started remembering all the moments she had shared with Junior, and also remembered the gift she had bought but never managed to give him. Smiling, she told herself that she would do everything to win Deok's heart. She even said that everything she had done was thanks to his help. She took off her shoes and started running, leaving everyone there confused. She even said that if she could confess her feelings to Junior, she would feel much lighter. She also said that no matter how many times he called her, she would always answer his call, because the love she felt was so strong. That's why she was willing to always chase after him. Her show was so good that the crowd gave her a score of 10, especially because of the leap she made. Then she ran off to confess her feelings. She was almost reaching the place where Deok was. He was her Prince Charming, the person she loved so much, but she ended up bumping into someone, and as expected she ran into Sophia, who asked if the blonde happened to like her. Looking around, she asked where Junior was, and Sophia asked if she liked Deok. Then Sophia turned around to show that he was working at the food truck. But when they looked over there, the truck had already left a while ago. Both of them started screaming desperately, asking where he was. Our guy had already taken off. He had promised the old man, Uncle Deok, that he would take care of that food truck as if it were the most precious thing in his life. His food was so good that it had already become one of the most popular in the entire country. That's why he was now heading to a more populated province. All of that was to try to earn more money. When he arrived there, people seemed to recognize him already, and the elders asked if he had a specific drink. He said yes and started preparing it. After opening the bottle, the drink began to spray everywhere. And all of that was part of the show. The guy looked like one of those Indian chefs. He was spraying soda everywhere and said it was good to freshen up the place. Then he prepared a shaved ice dessert for a customer. The old folks were amazed by his skill, and on top of the shaved ice, he even added sweet red beans. That was a typical dish from that region. And even though it looked nice, I don't think it would taste very good. Guys, comment down below. The old folks tried it and said it was delicious, and our hero even told the old man to spread the word about the food truck around the area. At that moment, a kid showed up saying he also wanted a sweet red bean dessert, but our protagonist said he couldn't eat that kind of treat because it had things children shouldn't taste. When he looked up, he saw an ad for Sophia. As unbelievable as it seemed, he was missing her. The girl was so rich that she even owned an airplane company. We see her flying in a plane, about to skydive, and right then she jumped. He cursed the moment he said he missed Sophia. He even thought it would be impossible for her to find him there, but the girl was already on her way. At that moment, he heard someone shouting his name, Deok. He tried to look around, searching for the girl, and she came from above, landing right on her love. Where did you come from, girl? I think I already regret saying I missed her. He knew the girl would cause trouble, so he immediately wrapped her up in the parachute. Later, she saw that sweet red bean dessert and said she wanted to try it. Junior said he would only let her eat it if she worked, but the girl had already eaten half of it. Since there was alcohol in that dessert, the girl started getting dizzy. With blushing cheeks, she asked, "Why am I feeling like this?" Feeling her body heat up, she went straight to hug Junior. Then the girl slipped and showed her injured hand to our hero, saying she fell and hurt it. So they went to a pharmacy. He bought a bandage for the girl. All shy, she apologized for interrupting his work. Oh, you always show up just to bother me, don't you? It's like you do it on purpose. It seems like your goal is to make me lose sales. Surely you're trying to scam me just like the one I fell for 3 years ago. Later that day, he went back to his hotel. She said she didn't have her wallet, so she wouldn't be able to pay for a room, but he said it was fine, they could share a room. Our guy was taking a shower, and she was pacing back and forth, wondering if he had finally fallen in love with her. She even thought that kiss had worked, and that he was now madly in love. Thinking about naughty things, she jumped on the bed. She even said that maybe she wasn't ready for that kind of thing since she had no experience at all. At that moment, our hero appeared and said she should go clean up, so the girl did. She started brushing her teeth, feeling a little disappointed, thinking something else would happen. Yeah guys, this girl's pretty mischievous. While brushing her teeth, she got all shy, saying he was too handsome, but since the atmosphere was too embarrassing for her, she said she would tease him a little to lighten the mood. While the guy was drying his hair, she said her hand was hurting a lot, and even told him he should help her clean herself since she couldn't use her hand properly. The guy got all flustered, saying she was being really, but then he got closer and said he would help her. I bet not even the girl expected that, and neither did you watching this. When I said this protagonist wasn't a vegan, I was serious. Meanwhile, Miss Kim was already searching the area to find out where the lady was. She was following GPS signals she had hidden in Miss Sophia's clothes, and the GPS also had a listening device. She ended up hearing Diok saying he would help her take a bath. Because of that, the brunette jumped out of the plane, saying she would never let something like that happen. I don't know about you, but I'm already getting mad at that woman. She always shows up to ruin the moment. Furious, she said that guy was a shameless jerk. And after checking Junior's records, they discovered his name wasn't even Diok. On top of that, he had a debt of approximately 200 million. In other words, he had gotten close to Sophia just to pay off his debt. At least that's what Miss Kim thought. She believed that guy was a villain manipulating Sophia's innocence, so she needed to reach that building as fast as possible and stop the girl from falling in love with him. She managed to enter through the window, and when she got there, she said she would end everything. She took off her parachuting suit and said she would find that man no matter what it took. As she approached the bathroom, she started hearing noises. So she rushed to open the door and ended up seeing our hero washing his lady's hair. He had placed the girl in an extremely comfortable position and was massaging her head. All that so he could wash her scalp in the best possible way. But it was so comfortable that she kept saying it was better than the massages from the best masseuses in the world. Seeing that scene, Miss Kim felt extremely embarrassed. At that moment, Sophia noticed that her secretary was there. Our guy turned on the shower and started rinsing off the foam. Then he began drying the girl's hair, which made Miss Kim furious. She even ran over asking if the girl was okay, and Sophia shouted that she was great. She even said her hand was hurt, which was why she needed help. At that moment, our hero held her hand, saying they needed to change the bandages. He was holding the girl's small hand, and of course she thought it was very romantic. But Miss Kim went there and separated the two, saying that our hero was a greedy jerk. Wait, did she break the window? He immediately said Miss Kim should pay for the damage of breaking it, and the woman said she would give compensation. He even said she might as well lock Sophia inside a safe, since she didn't have the freedom to do what she wanted. But the brunette replied that it had only taken 3 minutes. It took 3 minutes for the kidnappers who had abducted her in the past to die. She said that while pointing her finger at our hero, "Hold on, girl, I'm not a kidnapper," and according to her, she wouldn't allow that man to take advantage of Sophia. Several sniper lights started aiming at the boy, and Sophia couldn't understand what was happening. She went to the girl and said she should stay calm because Aunt Kim had already handled everything, even hugging her and saying she wouldn't let that man take advantage of her. Later, they went to a restaurant. It was the kind of restaurant where you cooked your own food. Our hero had prepared delicious dishes, and the girl was struggling to eat because her hand was hurt. Miss Kim stood up, glaring at the boy. Since Sophia's hand was injured, he ended up offering her a bite of food. What? He's going to feed me? But she didn't think much and quickly ate, realizing that the piece of meat was delicious. The guy was a true chef. She never felt pleasure eating any food, but the dishes made by Diok were amazing. She even thought that maybe he was a god. Then the girl asked what they should do next, and he hugged Sophia, saying they hadn't finished eating yet. But she picked up a piece of lettuce with tomato, saying she also wanted to feed him. Hold on, girl, if you're going to feed me, at least put some meat on it, right? Sad, she said she knew she always got in his way at work, but that wasn't her intention. She even asked why, after everything, he was still being kind to her. And he said it was because he wanted to protect something precious to him. Wait, is he saying that I'm precious to him? That made her fall even more in love. But the guy was suspicious. He saw her as a dangerous woman. He had fed her and even washed her hair. He didn't mind being treated like a toy. What he really wanted was to protect his food truck and keep earning money as a cook. And he kept looking at her with a serious face, saying he wouldn't let himself be fooled. Since she thought that was a love confession, she immediately proposed marriage, and the guy got nervous, wondering why she wanted to steal his food truck when she was a billionaire. At that moment, they heard a stomach growling, and it was Miss Kim's. She said it was because she was starving. So the young man offered her some food too. She sat beside him and told herself she would make that boy fall in love with her. She even leaned closer, asking if he wouldn't feed her too. Her goal was to make him fall in love, not the other way around. The scene shifted to the next day. He had gone to an event filled with food trucks. The guy had become really famous, so much so that a local TV station came to interview him. There were rumors that he was challenging a 3-star chef named Maria, and in that challenge it was said that if he lost, he would also lose his food truck and never be able to cook again. Sophia was shocked by that news. Wait, what challenge is that? I didn't even know about it. That Maria showed up. She was talking with the president of HS Company, Sophia's mother. She had planned everything with the intention of making the boy lose the challenge and never cook again. And the poor guy, who knew nothing, was surrounded by several reporters. He realized that all of this was part of Sophia's mother's plan, and Maria guaranteed that she would win that challenge since she was one of the best chefs in the entire world. The woman ended up appearing, and the reporters went there to ask her about the challenge. The woman said she had been challenged by a simple food truck cook, and she would never refuse such a request. The guy realized that all of this was a plan to make him give up and stop cooking, so he stepped forward, determined to win the challenge. The woman stared at him and even wondered why Sophia had chosen to date that guy. Maybe it was because his food was so delicious, and that's why Sophia fell in love. That woman remembered that Sophia had once gone to her restaurant and said her food had no soul. The girl said it was delicious, but she wanted to eat something real. Hearing that made Maria extremely furious. Our guy asked if the president of HS company had sent her to take part in that challenge and even told Maria to give up. But the woman immediately grabbed the boy, telling him not to talk nonsense and saying she would never lose to a mere street cook. She even insulted him, saying he was a pathetic cook. Passing by Sophia, she told her to watch closely what a real chef looked like. She would show that her food did have soul and that she was the best cook. Sophia knew that her mother was behind all of this. So she went to Diok, asking if he was okay, and even apologizing. But our guy said he wouldn't let anyone make fun of his food truck. Hearing that made her fall even more in love, saying he was truly amazing. He was determined to win that contest and prove he was a respectable chef. And the main ingredient for the competition would be potatoes. Inside the truck, Sophia tried to explain that Maria was one of the best chefs in the world, but our hero was confident that he could win. They only needed to come up with a menu that involved potatoes, so they grabbed their empty boxes and went to the market to buy the potatoes. But when they arrived, the potatoes were sold out. No matter which market they went to, they couldn't find any. They were starting to get desperate. The old man said all the potatoes had been bought the day before. What? What do you mean there are no potatoes left? The old man said no, and added that the buyer had paid double the price. That's when he realized this was all a setup. Sophia's mother's company had bought all the potatoes in the city. The guy started thinking Sophia might also be part of the plan. All cheerful, she said she had found a potato. He told her that regular potatoes were easy to find, but they needed a special harvest to make the dish delicious. At that moment, they heard a child saying there were lots of potatoes at their house. The little one explained that they lived on a farm and had potato fields there. When they arrived, they saw the potatoes were still buried underground. The competition would be the next day, so they started getting ready to harvest. It was already getting dark and they were still working hard. The guy was tired, but the girl seemed happy, saying they had already harvested over 100. And the guy thought she looked beautiful even dressed like that, but she was so clumsy that she ended up falling to the ground. He reached out his hand to help her up, and of course she was thrilled, immediately hugging Diok and saying he was so cute when he worried about her. The little boy appeared, saying it was snack time, and they had prepared a potato cake for the two of them. Our hero tried it and realized the potatoes from that farm were incredibly delicious, even thinking that with those potatoes they could win the contest. But he still doubted Sophia, thinking she might also be trying to ruin him, yet he decided to trust her, and they made a toast. He noticed that the drink was alcoholic and tried to warn Sophia not to drink it, but it was already too late. The girl had 2 bottles, and soon she started feeling sleepy and fainted. It was as if she were dreaming about Diok, and all the good memories they shared came back to her mind. She was very weak with alcohol, and every time she drank even 1 sip, she would start dreaming about him. But then her dream turned into a nightmare, as she imagined he might lose the contest. And all of that would be because of her mother, who was extremely manipulative. The girl didn't know why, but her mother wanted to destroy him at all costs. So she woke up in the middle of the night and climbed on top of the boy. He asked if she was okay, but she couldn't hold back her tears. She apologized and said he shouldn't participate in that contest. He asked why as her tears fell onto his face. Then she leaned closer and began kissing the boy. Yeah, this guy was finally catching a break, guys. The scene returned to that late afternoon moment when she had fainted. He carried the girl in his arms, still saying she was too weak for alcohol. He looked at that innocent face and thought it was impossible for her to wish him harm. That's why he was determined to trust her. He placed her in the back of the truck, and they started heading back to the old man's house. While she slept, she kept apologizing to Diok. He wondered what kind of nightmare she was having since the girl seemed very tense. In the middle of the dream, she told him not to go. Then the boy realized she was dreaming about the contest that would happen tomorrow. What he wanted was to hold her hand and give her comfort, but his mind was torn between falling in love with Sophia or hating her, thinking she wanted to steal his food truck. At night, they finally arrived at the old man's farm. He wanted to call manager Kim to come and pick up Sophia, but because of the rain, the cell signal was very weak and he couldn't make the call. Because of that, he carried the girl and took her to a room. The little boy showed up saying he had an extra pillow, but he told the boy not to worry because when the rain stopped, someone would come to take Sophia away. So he let the girl sleep there until he could contact Miss Kim. But the rain didn't stop, guys. It rained all night, and it seemed the little ghost was rooting for it not to end. And to make the romance between the two even stronger, the ghost directed one of the lightning bolts toward a pole. Our hero was sleeping next to the girl, and at that moment she got up still half asleep. He was wondering what she was up to, and then she called out for Diok. She started crying, apologizing, and then that whole scene we saw before happened. She was apologizing because everything bad happening in his life was her fault, and crying a lot, she begged him not to join that contest. Then the girl gave our hero a big kiss, but afterwards she fell asleep. The scene changed to the next morning, and she had slept on top of him, all tangled up. When she woke up, she asked Diok if he had slept well. The guy said no, since she had squeezed him all night. Then she went to the bathroom and started brushing her teeth. The battle was about to begin, and our hero had just arrived at the venue. He would be betting his entire life on this competition. The announcer said that the head chef was world famous and that within 2 hours the judges would decide who was the best of all, and Sophia stood there tense. When the signal was given, they began preparing their dishes. He knew he couldn't beat her with the simple meals he usually made, so he planned to make a delicious sandwich with a potato filling. He first toasted the bread and then added a bit of salt. And since the main ingredient had to be potato, he ended up making a secret recipe. The guy was using the best ingredients he had, and he also had to cook fast since he only had 2 hours. And the secret ingredient he would use was honey. Acacia honey gently heated with a bit of butter and water. Then he rang the bell as his potato and egg sandwich was ready. The judge said it looked delicious and even invited Sophia to join the tasting. She took a bite of the sandwich, and on camera the judge said it was indeed an interesting dish. Besides being juicy, it was also flavorful. Sophia also bit into the sandwich. She said it was tasty but only fancy on the outside. She looked at our hero and noticed he was very tense. Then Maria finished her dish, and it seemed much more appetizing than our hero's sandwich. The judge said he had never seen such a beautiful dish, and when he tasted it, he said it was the most delicious thing he had ever eaten. Then he kept giving several compliments, saying it was a 10, no, a 1000. The flavor was so intense that he felt like he was in heaven. The majority of the event's audience sided with Maria. They formed huge lines to try her dish. Sophia also tasted a piece, and Maria got angry, asking if Sophia would finally admit that her food had soul. She had just tasted both, and after wiping her mouth, she said she was disappointed because Maria's food didn't even feel like real food. Of course, that made the blonde furious. The people eating the sandwich said it didn't even taste like potatoes, and that the flavor was disappointing. And of course, Junior heard all that and felt sad. Most people didn't like his sandwich, and Sophia went to him asking if they should just run away. He was gripping his tool tightly, and when he heard the word run, he got angry, but she took the tool from his hand, and after grabbing his shirt firmly, she asked if he was going to run or not, saying that standing there with that sad face wouldn't help anything. Sophia was furious, telling him to quit once and for all. Why are you telling me to give up? Because the food she knew from Deok was nothing like this. His dishes used to be far more delicious. That was the first time he had ever felt this way in 3 years of working on the food truck. He even recalled his master, and it was the first moment he felt incapable of making truly tasty food. Meanwhile, Mr. Deok was watching everything from afar in his ghostly form. The spirit noticed that people were still eating the snack. However, his apprentice lacked confidence. Because of that, the flavor of his food had slightly diminished. Then Mr. Deok shouted loudly, calling out to Junior. His voice echoed all the way to the truck, saying that if he was just going to whine, he might as well give up already. It seemed our hero sensed his master's presence, staring ahead as he wondered if it was his uncle, Uncle Devi. At that moment, he got into the vehicle, and Sophia kept asking if he was really going to quit and leave. And just like that, he stepped on the gas. He drove past Sophia's mother, and she commented that Maria was such a great cook that she had scared that poor boy away. Sophia stayed there talking to her mother, saying that what she did was completely unfair. While tasting Maria's food, Sophia's mother asked where that man had gone, and even called him a coward for not staying to witness his defeat. Maria noticed the boy had run off and remarked that he must have faced reality. Meanwhile, the owner of the HS company commented that he had made the right choice, since the humiliation would have been unbearable. She even told Sophia that the man was nothing more than a coward. But while she was busy insulting our protagonist, we suddenly saw his truck returning. And somehow no one knows how that truck actually leaped, flying right over them. Yeah, it literally went over them. After parking, he prepared his large pot. He was more driven than ever. After apologizing, he declared that Deok's food truck had returned. The president of HS company frowned, asking what that poor guy thought he was doing. However, she quickly noticed the determination in his eyes. He remembered Sophia telling him to just give up already. She had said it straight, that he shouldn't act like a coward. Better to quit than to be a coward, she said. But thanks to his master's warning, he realized he had been too focused on winning instead of creating delicious food. Throughout all his years as a cook, his greatest wish had always been to make meals that tasted amazing. He loved watching people's reactions when they tried his food. The moment they took a bite, it felt like a burst of flavors, and that was what he enjoyed the most. But because he had become obsessed with defeating Maria, he had turned greedy and arrogant. He picked up the potatoes and apologized for not treating them properly, leaving the announcer in the back completely shocked. Maria noticed he had returned for the second round and asked if this was meant to be a challenge, but our guy wasn't even concerned about her anymore. He just wanted to make delicious food. Of course, Maria didn't hold back either and began slicing her potatoes. Thinner, denser, and softer. That was Maria's philosophy. Meanwhile, everyone watched closely. As for our hero, he cut the potatoes in a slightly different way. He made them into sticks, while the other woman sliced hers into rounds. Naturally, this irritated Maria, who accused him of trying to copy her recipe in his own way. At that moment, both of them rang the bell. They had finished their dishes, and of course, hers looked far more appealing. The first person to taste it was that farm boy, and when he bit into it, a crisp sound echoed. Sophia, worried, asked if it was good, and the boy said it tasted like potatoes before putting a piece into her mouth. At that moment, she said the flavor was incredible, which felt strange because it was just a simple fried potato. But looking closer, she could see the knife marks. Those cuts made the potato even crispier. One of the judges tasted it and said it was truly magnificent. These were Mr. Deok's crispy fries. Everyone nearby suddenly rushed forward, desperate to buy those fries for 3,501. Easy, everyone, there's enough for all, Deok said while stirring the pot wildly, oil splashing everywhere. Man was cooking like his life depended on it. Sophia felt her heart grow warmer because her beloved Deok had returned and was making those delicious dishes again. Meanwhile, Sophia's mother was far from pleased and slammed her fist hard into the potatoes. At that moment, she snapped her fingers and called for Miss Kim. There were 10 minutes left, but something had caught Deok's attention, and the tension around him began to rise. He looks up in shock, mainly because Sophia's mother was pulling a dirty trick by bringing in a bunch of employees in trucks. All of the HS company workers were gathered there. On top of that, Miss Kim had started bribing the judges, and as if that wasn't enough, she also instructed the employees to head over to Maria's restaurant. Because of that, the HS company's line became much longer compared to Deok's food truck. Maria quickly realized that the HS president was doing all of this just to ensure her victory. Furious, she demanded to know if they had no shame acting like that. She threw her hat onto the ground and ran off to confront them. However, Miss Kim tried to calm Maria down, but she insisted they remove those employees immediately, since she didn't want to win like that. But Sophia's mother stated that she wouldn't win otherwise. At that moment, Chef Maria grew even angrier and glanced to the side, noticing people complaining about her food. Enraged, she saw someone drinking soda and immediately snatched it from his hand. Squeezing the bottle, she declared that a refined dish like hers wouldn't pair with soda. Meanwhile, Junior kept frying potatoes non-stop. Orders kept piling in and he was starting to get exhausted. At that moment, Sophia decided to step in and help, announcing that there was free beer provided by the HS company that would pair perfectly with Deok's fries. Hearing that, people immediately rushed to grab drinks and buy the fries. Yeah, free drinks? Say less. Our hero realized that Sophia was genuinely helping and even mentioned that without her, he probably wouldn't have won. And so he kept frying even more potatoes. There were only 5 seconds left before the competition ended, and everyone began counting down. Sophia's mother wore her usual sour expression, while Maria prepared her final dish, and soon the duel came to an end as they moved on to the long-awaited voting. The scene shifts to later, without immediately revealing who won. Maria looked a bit down and started throwing away the remaining food. However, Deok showed up wanting to buy her dish, and after taking a portion, he tasted the first bite. He realized the flavor was truly exceptional, something he wouldn't be able to replicate easily. He even asked how she managed to create such depth of flavor. The girl replied that she had used truffle butter. As soon as she realized she had revealed her secret, she got angry and told him to stop rubbing his victory in her face. However, he said it was delicious and that it had been an honor to compete against her. Hearing that compliment, the girl's cheeks turned red. Right after, she pointed at him and told him not to move, because she was going to prepare another dish. She had liked the expression on his face. At that moment, Sophia appeared, saying that he had worked very hard. He also thanked her for the help, saying that without her, he likely would have lost. But Sophia said she didn't know what he was talking about, since she only wanted to promote her company's drinks. According to the terms of the match, if he had lost, she would have taken his food truck. But the girl said her intention wasn't to take his restaurant. As he moved closer to her, he asked what her real reason was for being so obsessed with him. In a romantic tone, Sophia said it was because she liked Deok, and he immediately got irritated, saying she was just trying to trick him. At that moment, Sophia hugged our protagonist, saying she wanted to marry him. Yeah, that escalated real fast. Of course, he got scared of getting shot, since her family was kind of crazy. At that moment, Maria became furious, telling them not to show off in front of her. A few days later, in their group of friends, Sophia arranged a meeting with our protagonist along with Park Yuri, mentioning that they would bring one more person. With little choice, our protagonist ended up going to meet them, and when Junior realized it, he was in a place surrounded by mountains. He had dropped a watermelon into the river, and while cooling off by the lakeside, he said it felt good to take a few days to rest. Park Yuri had apparently become friends with Sophia. At least that's what he thought. But the two girls were actually fighting. One was trying to ruin the other's makeup. While they argued in the background, he asked the other person who came with them if they didn't like going into the water. Wearing a mysterious hat, the person simply nodded in response, so our hero immediately went over and hugged that person, saying he was a bit tired of being surrounded by women. He then asked if that person had served in the army, and they shook their head to say no. Since this person was also a friend of Park Yuri, that meant they were his friend too. In case you didn't notice, yeah, that's actually a girl, and our hero thought she was a guy. The watermelon was drifting away with the current, so the girl decided to jump in and retrieve it. However, she didn't know how to swim. Her name was Chun-Rei. Park Yuri stood there shouting, telling someone to save her. Without a second thought, Junior jumped straight into the lake. He dove deep to reach Chun-Rei, and soon he came back up carrying the girl in his arms. He placed her somewhere safe, and with tears in his eyes, he wondered if what he was seeing was real, because he had thought Chun-Rei was a guy, and she turned out to be a really cute girl. That realization left Deok completely stunned. Park Yuri rushed over, smacked the back of his head, and asked what on earth he had been thinking. The only thing running through his mind was how he had treated Chun-Rei just minutes earlier. It still hadn't fully sunk in that she was a woman, especially since his eyes were still watery. So he decided to ask Park Yuri what she would do if she found out he was actually a girl. At that moment, Park Yuri started imagining Deok as a woman, and she got a bit mischievous, even picturing the two of them in a relationship. She said she would love it, but then realized how weird that sounded and started shouting in embarrassment. The two girls said they were going to the market to buy something to eat at the inn, leaving Deok alone with Chun-Rei. While they went to buy meat, he would stay behind and chop some vegetables. He kept apologizing for mistaking her for a man. However, he wasn't even sure how she identified, which only made him feel more embarrassed. Then he said he would chop the onions so they wouldn't irritate her eyes, so he moved closer to her. At that moment, he questioned what was going on in his own head for saying such clueless things. Since he was standing very close to Chunrei, she asked if he was curious to know whether she was a woman or not. He froze as it was the first time he had heard her soft voice. Then she grabbed his hand firmly and told him to find out for himself. Strop's brain just disconnected for a second. You probably thought she was going to pull his hand somewhere else, but she simply guided it to her own face. And he was completely stunned, noticing how soft her skin was. The shock was so intense that he ended up falling back into the water. Later, the two girls returned and found him lying in shock in the water. After some time, he prepared a delicious meal. It was a spicy steamed chicken dish. Sophia took a bite and said it tasted amazing. She even mentioned that the flavor reminded her of countryside cooking. Diok's dishes were so good that they almost caused hallucinations in those who ate them. The girl kept shouting about how delicious it was. Meanwhile, our protagonist insisted that he had messed up the spice and that it was too hot. But unlike him, Park Yuri said the meat soup was delicious and refreshing. He explained that the refreshing taste came from the powdered ginger he had added. After eating, they went to the water to cool off. He had also cut up some watermelons, and the girls started spitting seeds at each other. Later, they returned to the inn, and Sophie, clearly annoyed, called out to Diok. She wanted to know why the two of them were wearing matching clothes. Diok explained that he had lent them to Park Yuri since she hadn't brought warm clothes. Feeling jealous, she said the two of them now looked like a couple. I bet you'd love having multiple girls fighting over you. That's a dangerous game, my friend. At night, he made watermelon juice, and they headed to the karaoke room inside the inn. Park Yuri said she was going to pick a very romantic song to sing with Diok, and after choosing it, she called him over like a big shot. He realized the song was extremely romantic, basically a duet for couples, so he said he wasn't good at singing and felt embarrassed. And just like that, a competition started between Park Yuri and Sophia to see who would get to sing with Diok. Sophia kept insisting that he sing with her, so he stood up and tried to sing, awkwardly. Man was fighting for his life on that mic. He was actually really bad at singing. Of course, Park Yuri got jealous since he sang with Sophia instead of her. Since he had drunk a bit, he loosened up, and the two girls in the back wondered how he could have the confidence to sing that badly. Turns out you can't be good at everything. He ended up getting a very low score at karaoke, and said it was because he hated singing. That watermelon juice had alcohol in it, which explained why they were getting a bit tipsy. After that, they started playing that paper passing game where you hold a piece of paper with your mouth and pass it to someone else. Basically an excuse for accidental kisses, let's be honest. He started the game with Park Yuri, but the girl didn't take the paper right away, clearly enjoying the moment. The excitement got to her so much that she ended up falling to the floor, squirming in embarrassment. Next was Sophia, and she got ready to steal a kiss from him. But the guy just grabbed the papers and tossed them straight at her face. This dude really fumbles every chance. Seriously. It was like dropping steak right in front of a vegan. She asked why he did that, and when she opened her eyes, she realized he was kissing Chunrei. Right after that, they also noticed the papers were gone. Because of that, their lips ended up touching, and when they opened their eyes, they realized they were actually kissing. Now this time, our protagonist really got lucky. Not gonna lie, she might be the cutest one out of the three. At that moment, he froze in shock after getting smacked on the head with a pillow. Both Sophia and Park Yuri started hitting him. He said it was unintentional and nothing more than an accident, but of course the two of them were deeply hurt. Meanwhile, Chunrei stood there. She was trying to process everything that had just happened. Right after that, they decided to play truth or dare. Sophia started bringing up things that only rich people would even think of, like eating pasta in a space station or something like that. Then Park Yuri asked a question, saying that anyone who was a man should put a finger down. But our hero insisted he wasn't going to lose the game, and refused to lower his finger. Sophia pointed out that the game wasn't about winning or losing, and in the background, Park Yuri found it a bit suspicious that he didn't lower his finger when asked if he was a man. Because, guys, she was starting to suspect he might actually be a woman, especially after what he had told her earlier. Then he made his own move, saying that anyone who had kissed him should put a finger down. Chunrei and Sophia both lowered their fingers, since they had already kissed him. And our poor blonde girl was the only one who hadn't kissed the person she liked. Whoever lost would have to take more shots. Then it was Chunrei's turn to ask something. She asked Diok to say which one of the three girls he liked. Which one do I like the most? When he thought about Sophia, the wealthy heiress who already had everything, he figured marrying her wouldn't be a bad idea. However, Park Yuri had been his friend for a long time, but she felt more like a younger sister. And lastly, there was this mysterious girl whose thoughts he couldn't figure out. Choosing just one out of the three would be extremely difficult. Honestly, having all three would be ideal. Yeah, bro really tried to unlock the full route. Drop a comment on which one you would choose. However, Chunrei ended up taking the punishment herself. While she wiped her mouth, the girls told her she wasn't supposed to drink. It was Diok who had to answer. She said she got confused, but the two of them realized it was just a seduction tactic and that she was trying to act cute. Later on, our protagonist complained that it was really cold outside. He even asked where Chunrei was, and the girls said she had gone outside to sober up. He looked outside and thought it might be better to go get her. So he said he was going to the car to grab something, but that was just an excuse. He was actually worried about her. While searching for her in the forest, Mr. Diok, the little ghost, commented that his student was clearly into the girl. At that moment, he heard a noise behind him, turned around and realized it was Chunrei. With a flashlight pointed right at her face, he got completely startled and asked if she was a ghost. But no, it was just Chunrei, and he felt embarrassed. The girl laughed, saying he was so silly, and at that moment he remembered her guiding his hand to her face and also remembered the kiss they shared. He wanted to hide the fact that he was interested in her, So to mask his nervousness, he gently patted her head and told her they should head inside because it was too cold. She grabbed his arm and he asked if she was shaking because she was cold, and she said no, she wasn't cold, she was actually in love. At that moment, Sophia saw the two of them approaching and started shouting, asking why they were walking arm in arm. Park Yuri also showed up, and both of them said they wanted to take a night walk with him, and out of jealousy they ended up pushing him into the pool. When he fell, he lost his shirt, and they asked if he wasn't cold. But man, he was actually really well built, and they all got flustered. One of them even took a picture. He was not amused. Deok told them to go to sleep already. To warm himself up, he took a hot shower. Since Deok had lent his hoodie to Sophia, she also packed a change of his clothes into his bag. A little while later, Park Yuri went to his bag to borrow some clothes and ended up finding women's clothing. When she saw that, she started connecting the dots and remembered him asking earlier what she would do if he turned out to be a woman. She also recalled how he didn't lower his finger during her question. And in her mind, she pictured Junior as a girl. Naturally, her imagination started running wild, and with flushed cheeks, she became shy. Sophia even asked if something had happened. Feeling a bit conflicted, she said she hated Deok. She hates him in every possible way. A little while later, he finally stepped out of the shower. Park Yuri was already asleep, and he noticed that Sophia was also lying there, hugging a pillow. He had no idea where he was supposed to sleep, especially since Chunrei was on the other side of the bed. Completely confused, he kept wondering where he should lie down. All three girls had taken up the entire space, which meant he had no choice but to sleep next to one of them. Uncle Deok, the ghost, was watching everything and even suggested that he could just sleep on the couch. However, he had known Yuri longer, so maybe it would be better to sleep beside her, but she looked like she had been crying. And yeah, her cheeks were flushed and her eyes were watery. On the other side was Sophia, but getting involved with her felt dangerous. He even lay facing her, but couldn't shake the feeling that his life might be at risk. He imagined what she might do if she tried to kiss him in the middle of the night. Honestly, that didn't sound so bad. It was actually something he wanted. However, he also imagined getting hit by mysterious bullets. When he realized it, he was already lying on top of someone, and that someone was Chunrei, and she was awake. At that moment, he thought he was completely done for, especially since Park Yuri started to move. But at the same time, Chunrei pulled him closer, bringing him right against her body, and asked if he didn't have anywhere to sleep, and if it was okay, he could just rest comfortably next to her. The guy could smell her sweet perfume, and it felt strangely comforting. He ended up falling asleep, and woke up early the next morning, and to our protagonist's surprise, all three girls were piled on top of him. Yeah, bro got trapped in hard mode. His vacation week had come to an end, and he went straight back to the food truck. He started preparing the first orders while stationed in the center of Jiangchu. Reaching out, he handed over a takeaway meat bun and even said he would help the girl with the payment. With tears in her eyes, she asked if he was really going to help her. He said yes, and told her the price was 3,500. She looked completely confused. But for us to understand what's going on, we need a quick explanation. First, that girl used to be part of a traditional restaurant in Jiangchu. It was an extremely famous place, attracting people from all over the world just to eat there. That restaurant was even considered a cultural heritage site, since it preserved recipes from thousands of years ago. The girl's grandmother was the current head chef, and also the main cook. However, she didn't want to be part of her grandmother's restaurant. Dayok asked if it was because she didn't like cooking, and she said no. She loved cooking. The difference was that she didn't want to prepare those old dishes her grandmother kept forcing her to make. Then the girl apologized, saying she wouldn't bother him anymore. But our confident hero said he didn't mind listening to customers' stories, since that was part of the fun. However, the girl misunderstood everything and started thinking it was some kind of love confession. At that moment, her grandmother suddenly appeared. She immediately began stuttering, trying to explain why she had run away from the restaurant. Furious, the old woman told her to stop this nonsense and return to the kitchen right away. She was the successor who would inherit the restaurant called Soyoung, especially since her mother had passed away. But the girl insisted that she didn't want to cook those kinds of dishes. She wanted to create her own recipes. Clinging to Daok's arm, she declared that she would marry him, and that they would open their own restaurant. The old woman became furious, and the bodyguard had to hold her back. Our hero had no idea what was going on anymore, and she just kept holding on to him. Seriously, can I not catch a break? Why do these crazy situations always find me? The woman stepped forward and stared at Junior, and when she looked at his food truck, her expression turned full of prejudice. But after taking a bite of one of his meat buns, she realized it was truly delicious, juicy and bursting with flavor. It was unbelievable that a food truck could produce something that tasty. So she said she now understood what Daok meant, but I didn't even say anything. However, she declared that if he wanted to take her granddaughter away, he would first have to defeat her in a cooking duel. In 2 days, they would compete in front of the Soyoung restaurant. The girl started trembling with fear, nearly turning pale from anxiety. But when she looked at our protagonist, she saw him telling her to trust him. Completely smitten, she softly called out Daok's name. Helping her to her feet, he said that when he promises to help someone, he sees it through to the end. Later, when he went to the market to buy ingredients, he noticed that the girl was a bit strange, since she stuck to him like a sloth. Out of all of them, this one is definitely the craziest. After buying everything, he brought the ingredients back to his food truck. He said he still needed to get a few more things, and would need her help. But the girl insisted on showing him around the city first. He said it wasn't the right time, but she had already started dragging him along. So he ended up wearing the city's traditional outfit. and they also went to a place to try some local cookies. It almost felt like a romantic date. He admitted that the city was really beautiful, but the only thing on his mind was finding the market. They walked through a crowded street, and he kept apologizing as he bumped into people. Those people all seemed to know the girl, and her name was Yuna. She explained that her family was very famous, since they had always won the city's cooking competitions. While they were walking through the crowd, the girl slipped, and somehow they ended up in the middle of a competition by accident. It was a local event. Everyone started saying that the new cook would participate alongside Yuna. She apologized, since she had dragged him into this situation unintentionally. And in this contest, he had to carry the girl and run through the market. All the competitors got ready, and now it made sense why he had been shopping while holding on to her earlier. 15 minutes had passed, and everyone was watching the couple. People commented that Ilona couldn't win, and that the champion for the 20th time in a row was Mr. Lee. That was because the man was very small, while his wife was huge. Deok even complained, saying it was impossible to beat that P. Meanwhile, Ayuna kept apologizing and with teary eyes asked if they had lost because she was too heavy. Sweating nervously, he said no, that wasn't the reason. But to win the second round, he silently prayed for strength, and his master used all of his ghostly power. Deok suddenly felt an incredible force surge through his body, and just like that he started running much faster. With all that strength, he even lifted Ayuna, but that broke the rules, so the two of them were disqualified. The poor girl became sad because of it. The scene shifts to Grandma's tavern restaurant. He apologized to Ayuna, saying they lost because of him, since he forgot the rule about not lifting the participant. She said she didn't mind, and that they still had fun. At that moment, he noticed a lot of people had arrived. These women were complaining, saying the couple had been acting all lovey-dovey the entire night. Since they knew Ayuna, they said they needed to test Deok to see if he was good enough for her, and they even suggested a drinking challenge. Reluctantly, he agreed. In the end, he was already reaching his limit. Even so, the two of them kept drinking to prove they deserved to be together. The girl apologized, saying she had put him in an awkward situation. And while those women kept refilling their cups, he said it was fine, since he had promised to help her. So they kept drinking side by side, leaving the older ladies in the back completely charmed. This was the so-called dose of love. With flushed cheeks, she said she felt her body getting really warm. He held her hand and told her, "Don't worry. This problem was his too now, and he would see it through to the end." Hearing that, Ayuna's heart started beating faster, and slightly annoyed, he said those ladies were taking things way too far. In the background, they were gossiping, asking when the two of them would finally do that. "Yeah, you already know what the grandmas meant," he asked. "What exactly are they talking about?" And the ladies replied that it was level 4 of the dose of love. To reach level 4, level 3 required them to share a kiss, and just like that, the two of them faced each other. He said that if she didn't want to kiss him, they could just leave. But she repeated that he had said they would go all the way. At that moment, he fully understood what the old ladies were expecting. To gather courage, he grabbed the bottle and drank all the tequila at once. Some of the drink splashed onto the girl and she became shy. He said that since he promised to go all the way, he would follow through. Man suddenly unlocked fearless mode. Blushing, she wondered how far he would actually take this. At that moment, he moved closer, making her even more nervous. She thought something was really going to happen between them. However, the guy suddenly got dizzy and collapsed straight onto the floor. That was their moment. But yeah, it didn't happen. The women got worried and asked if he had fainted. Later, they handed the room key to Ayuna. Now they were considered married and could live as husband and wife. Stuttering, she thanked them while the elders kept talking about what a married couple should do. However, she ended up sleeping on the other side of the room. Outside, the old ladies started manipulating the environment to force some romance between them. They even lowered the air conditioning to make the room very cold. The girl complained, saying she felt really cold and that it would be better to turn off the air conditioner. Our hero started freezing, saying he was about to die from the cold. So to keep them from getting sick, she decided to warm up her dear boyfriend, or rather husband, since they were supposedly married. The guy had no idea what was going on, but he ended up hugging Yuna anyway. Outside, the elderly women started celebrating, even saying that soon Yuna would be bringing a new member into the family. Yeah, you already know what they're implying. Right after that, they raised the temperature, and he started complaining that now it was too hot. Because of the heat, he took off his shirt, which made her completely flustered. She knew very well that it was her relatives behind all of this, and since it was getting too warm, she also took off her hoodie. Blushing, she said that he didn't even pay attention to her. But at that moment, he hugged her and realized he had been talking in his sleep. Outside, the old ladies kept whispering, and Ayuna could hear everything. The girl knew that the restaurant was extremely important to her grandmother, but she didn't want to live as just a cog in that system. She wanted to cook her own dishes. That's why she needed her grandmother's approval, and she asked Deok to please win the competition the next day. The following morning, he woke up early beside her. This protagonist really has insane luck. He asked if he had done anything wrong the night before. Acting clueless and blushing, she said she actually wished he had done something, but he didn't. At that moment, he complained that he wasn't feeling well, probably because he drank too much the previous night. Seeing he had a hangover, she said he needed some kind of remedy, and nothing works better than a good stew. He blew on it since it was still too hot. When he tasted it, he realized it was delicious, and even helped cure his hangover. He said that she cooked really well, and afterward they shared a cup of coffee. Completely in love, she felt happy because he praised her cooking. It was clear that she truly enjoyed cooking, just in her own unique style. He asked what the dish was, and she said it was fried lettuce. The name didn't sound very appealing, but it actually looked good. Then she started explaining the ingredients she used. She apologized for her relatives calling them married. He said it wasn't a problem and even asked if it had all been a joke. She said yes, it was just a joke, since they should date first anyway. Hearing that, he froze in shock. He quickly changed the subject, saying the parade outside looked beautiful, but deep down he had a bad feeling. A traditional song was playing, and at that moment he saw Sophia approaching. He ran toward her and told her not to enter the restaurant, but it was already too late. Yuna, feeling shy, asked if he knew Sophia from the HS group. Sophia showed up ready to shake things up and said yes, she knew Deok. Poor Yuna, still completely smitten, said she was a huge fan of Sophia and even mentioned how crazy it was that Sophia knew Deok, asking if they were friends, but Sophia shook her finger and said no, they weren't just friends. And after kissing our protagonist on the cheek, she declared that they were dating. That left Yuna completely stunned. And to make things worse, Sophia said they were about to get married. Yuna asked Detoak if that was true, and our clueless protagonist didn't say a word. The girl started crying desperately, asking why he had led her on. Yeah, that one hurt. He was so shocked that he couldn't even respond. She even held Sophia's hand and apologized, saying she didn't know they had that kind of relationship. Some time passed, and Sophia tried to comfort the girl, saying it was okay. Yuna even mentioned that the protagonist had slept next to her, which made Sophia's expression turn jealous. The girl then asked Sophia if she could borrow Detoak for just one more day. Sophia found that a bit strange, but since she liked to act kind, she said she could borrow her boyfriend whenever she wanted. Meanwhile, Detoak was just standing there in the background. Wait, no one's gonna ask me anything? Extending her hands, Yuna said that now the three of them were a team, and together they declared they would win the cooking competition. Meanwhile, the grandmother was already preparing alongside her staff. If she won this competition, Yuna would have to work at her restaurant forever. She was extremely meticulous, carefully weighing and tasting every ingredient. Not only was she an excellent chef, but she was also a strong leader. After all, the flavor of Soyoung restaurant was the most important thing in her life. Everything had to be made perfectly delicious. Later on, Sophia brought Yuna along to participate in the competition. He was also ready, and now the three of them were wearing uniforms. He looked at the front of the food truck. They had even changed its name to Yuna's food truck, and he said that from now on he would work under her. Hearing that, the girl became emotional, and with her hands together she said everything was okay. However, no one showed up to buy from them, and everyone kept heading to her grandmother's restaurant. She grew worried, saying there wasn't a single soul in front of the food truck. Still, Deek and Sophia told her to calm down, assuring her things would work out. But the girl had a bad feeling about it, so the two of them patted her on the back, telling her to pull herself together. Right after that, Sophia returned carrying some skewers from Soyoung, and said she had bought them from someone in line. She even paid extra, around 1,000 just for one skewer. Then they tasted it. At that moment, he realized the flavor was incredible. Even Sophia admitted it was delicious. Yuna explained that there was a reason they had chosen that chicken skewer. It was because her family owned the best chickens in the world. It was a special breed raised exclusively on their farm. That's why the taste of those skewers was so good. And that particular one had been prepared by her grandmother herself. Our protagonist realized that winning against them in a duel would be extremely difficult. Even so, he stayed motivated and said they would do their best. So they began making their own chicken skewers. The girl felt a bit down, saying hers wasn't that great. But when she tried it, she realized the flavor was actually amazing. Our protagonist had used his own seasoning. He applied it gently so it could slowly penetrate the meat. On top of that, he mixed in rib meat, creating a completely new and refined flavor. Yuna asked if they really had a chance, and little by little people started wandering near the food truck. He didn't want to lose this competition, because he knew Yuna would be heartbroken, so he needed to do something to make her happy. Sophia started thinking of a strategy. Our protagonist was also trying to come up with a way to attract customers. Some people began approaching, drawn by the delicious smell. Then he suddenly heard Sophia's voice coming from within the crowd. He realized she was promoting herself to bring in customers. She was basically offering photos with fans if they bought a skewer. At that moment, Daeok stepped in and asked what she thought she was doing. She had posted on social media, saying that anyone who came to Yuna's food truck and bought a skewer could take a picture with her. That made him really angry because it felt like cheating. He even knocked her phone out of her hand, sending it to the ground. Furious, he asked what she was thinking. That was basically the same as stealing, and he didn't want to win that way. Those words hit hard, and she started apologizing. She even noticed her phone had broken, but kept saying she just wanted to help. Still upset, he said he wanted to win, but not like that. He would win by making delicious food, not by relying on Sophia's fame. She realized he was truly angry and kept apologizing. Man did not hold back with those words. He even said that he and Iduna didn't need her. Yuna started crying as she watched the situation unfold, and once inside the car she apologized, saying they had fought because of her. Deung told her it had nothing to do with her, and that they would change locations, since selling in front of the restaurant was too difficult. He explained that those customers were already used to eating at Soyoung, so he changed his plan and decided to move somewhere else. The girls asked where they were going. He said they needed to go somewhere far from that restaurant, since anyone passing through that area would automatically think of Soyoung's food, so they were heading to a better spot. With a confident look, he said he knew exactly where to go. Clapping their hands, the girls said Deung was a genius, so they parked the truck and realized the place was completely empty and deserted. Now they were getting worried, asking what kind of place this was. But then the school bell rang, and kids started rushing out like a stampede. Within moments, the place was completely packed. He looked at Yuna like he was saying, "Trust me," and she got excited because people were loving her food. And yeah, the place was absolutely crowded. They even started making fried chicken. The students asked what kind of delicious food it was, since they had never tasted anything like it. Placing his hand on Yuna's shoulder, he told her to handle the sauce. She could create those wild recipes she loved so much. That was exactly what she wanted to hear, and she fell even deeper for Diok. Full of confidence, she said he could leave it to her, so he began preparing extremely crispy fried chicken, and as he handed it to her, she poured the sauce over it. Just like that, they became a perfect duo. The college students fell in love with both the food and the couple. Smiling warmly, she told them to enjoy their meal. Sophia was also working as a waitress. Our guy gave Yuna a thumbs up, and she returned it with one of her own. And just like that, they started selling all the skewers and fried chicken. But in the end, it didn't matter. They still lost anyway. But the one crying the most was actually Sophia. They may have lost, but they fought all the way to the end. Yuna feels regret over the defeat, yet she says she learned a lot from him and genuinely had fun. Even so, they all admit that the chicken skewers from the Soyoung restaurant were incredibly good. She even mentions that her grandmother is someone who refuses to lose, but he replies that he noticed something special about her, and the girl asks what it was. He explains that her grandmother possesses something unique, which is cooking made with true love. That was something deeply rooted in her very being. Yuna also cooks with love, but it seemed like her grandmother's love was even greater. The girl asks if he truly believes that's the reason, and while offering his own food, he confirms that it is, because chefs express themselves through their dishes. She had not realized that before, since cooking for her was more of a hobby than a true passion. With a smile, she says she understands everything now and says goodbye, promising to return someday. From afar, Sophia shouts, wishing her good luck, and so she hands over the dish she made for her grandmother to taste. However, the grandmother gets angry, telling her to stick to the Soyoung restaurant recipes. Sophia lets out an awkward laugh, saying that didn't seem to work very well. In the end, it looked like Yuna hadn't made any progress at all. At least that's what she thought, until her grandmother gently pats her head and says she will allow her granddaughter to cook her own dishes too. This makes the girl burst into emotional tears, thanking her grandmother and saying that was exactly what she wanted. The scene shifts back to Diok's apartment. He says it is his first day off after years of work. Yeah, sure bro, we saw that vacation earlier. Because of that, he decides to buy some expensive meat to cook for himself. He even recalls those skewers from the Soyoung restaurant and tries to recreate the seasoning. At that moment, he thinks it would be nice to share this meal with Sophia, but then he gets annoyed, wondering why on earth he was thinking about her. Suddenly, his food starts flying off the balcony, and when he looks up, there is a helicopter hovering above. Sophia stretches out her hand, saying she cannot explain right now and that he needs to get in immediately. This girl really shows up like a final boss event every time, and with that, we wrap up the second part of this video, guys. It is getting really good. If you want more continuations, drop a comment. Sigma Chef, when you leave that comment, I know you watched until the end. YouTube has not been recommending our videos much, so it is very important that you leave a like, a comment, and even some hype if possible. I will leave 2 recommended videos here on the card that are really good. I am sure you have not seen them because YouTube barely showed them to anyone. Trust me, the stories are worth it, so I will see you there. That is it for now. Thanks and see you next time, everyone.